Hey guys, welcome back. We have a midweek energy update that we need to get into in our report for the day. We have reached what I do feel like is sort of the energetic turning point of the summer. We have been navigating some very choppy waters energetically, so to say, over this past couple of weeks. But now, and as we move into the month of August, I do think that things are going to kind of calm down and chill out a little bit. Not completely. I mean, we do still have some very heated energy that is coming in as we move through the week this week, but the issues and the energetic dynamics that may have been causing just a lot of the conflicts, a lot of the confrontations, a lot of the challenging everything over this past couple of weeks is breaking down now, is waning, and the energy is definitely shifting. We've got two planets, one changing directions, one changing signs on Wednesday, and we have a Mercury Sun exact conjunction happening also on Thursday while Mercury is retrograde. There's a good chance, you guys, that you're going to find something out. There is this reoccurring theme coming through right now about shining light into the shadows, like figuring out things that have been hidden, like secrets revealed, and what we maybe like we haven't known. Stuff like that could definitely be going on specifically on Thursday. I do think this could also be quite an emotionally sensitive week. The Chiron themes, the Chiron elements super highlighted this week. Of course, Chiron stationing. The moon is also amplifying this Chiron energy as well. And Venus, as she enters a sign of Cancer, normally this is a very like soft, fuzzy, warm, compassionate, affectionate energy. And it will be after the first, few days that Venus is in the sign, but while she makes her entrance, she will immediately come into a cardinal square with Saturn and Neptune retrograde in the sign of Aries. And this is going to make it real difficult to feel those like soft and fuzzy Venus and Cancer vibes. In fact, I feel like a lot of people are probably going to be feeling like emotionally detached, isolated, like they can't relate, they can't connect, just not like a very kind of like introverted in the shell type of energy. There could be some relationship breakdowns that are going on this week as well. And we have clearly some things to talk about. Quite an interesting energetic lineup Wednesday into Thursday. So let's get into it, you guys. Let's take a look at our energy forecast as we hit the midpoint of our week and try to get an idea of what might be playing out as we head towards our weekend. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Today is Wednesday, July 30th, 2025. My name is Aubrey. This is your astrological outlook of the day where we are narrating the shift of the ages. And if you guys stick with me until the end of this report, I have done a collective tarot reading for us today as well. I like to tap the energy field for more than one modality whenever I am doing these energy overviews just to get an alternative energetic perspective on what's going on out there. So there could be some messages in there for you. We will do that at the end. We have a astrology that we need to talk about. It's like an interesting fusion of energy, okay, that we've got going on as we move through the midpoint of our week this week. As I said in my intro, real strong Chiron themes here, like in more ways than one. We have Chiron stationing retrograde in the sky. Whenever a planet stations in its motion, it amplifies the energy of that planet. So that alone, just Chiron station, would indicate a more prominent Chiron theme likely to be surfacing, manifesting at like the forefront of things in our lives. But then we add the moon's placement, okay? Because when the moon is involved with different planetary situations going on, that also like triggers and amplifies and makes more relevant in terms of the way that we are feeling those particular energetic dynamics. So I've got Chiron stationing, so strong Chiron energy coming through that way. The moon also happens to be transiting through the sign of Libra when Chiron stations on the first day that Chiron goes retrograde, Wednesday and Thursday of this week. So the moon in Libra is going to be opposing the placement of Chiron stationing and just stationed retrograde. Again, the moon reflecting off of that energy, that is going to amplify the feeling nature of the expression of the energy, which translates into we're just going to be feeling it more. Like it's going to have a more prominent effect and impact. So Chiron energy highlighted through planet changing directions. Chiron energy highlighted also through moon's placement and opposition. And then Even after the moon leaves Libra and enters the sign of Scorpio, the moon is also going to be actually exactly opposed the Chiron point, which is 3 degrees of the sign of Taurus. That's the location where Chiron was discovered. It's called the Chiron point, and it's said to hold, essentially all the same themes and archetypes associated with the Chiron energy himself. So the moon will be at 3 degrees of Scorpio actually on Thursday, when we have the exact Mercury Sun alignment taking place. And I find that to be interesting and relevant as well. And like the third, emphasis being placed on this Chiron energy. Because the Sun and Mercury, when they come together, that is like a highlight. We're said to gain a missing piece of information, gain some clarity, something like stands out or is like extra illuminated in that energy. And there's likely to be something that actually like is illuminated, or a light shown on something somehow, like being a prominent or primary way that this energy is more likely to manifest, because this is happening in the sign of Leo. And remember, we're also moving through a Leo lunar cycle right now that was exactly opposite Pluto. This whole period of time right now is about shining a light into the shadows, like seeing what's been going on behind the curtain, or seeing what's been going on under the surface of things. And when we're talking about a Mercury Sun conjunction, that makes the sign of Gemini relevant right now, because Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and Uranus, the great awakener, happens to be at 0 degrees of the sign of Gemini, and that Sabian symbol is a glass bottom boat, reveals undersea wonders, seeing under the surface of things, revelations, sudden awakenings. So there's a very highlighted theme going on this week, having to do with some type of information, missing information, clarity, illumination, enlightenment about something that we may have been in the dark about somehow. Or, as I said, exactly as that Mercury Sun alignment comes together, the moon will be exactly opposite the Chiron point in the sign of Scorpio, activating the black moon. Again, this emphasis on the shadows of things in the context of the light. So the light of awareness coming through, and actually once we get to the end of the reading and I start talking about the tarot that came out for today, that was the theme in the tarot as well. Some type of illumination, like the light of day shown on something that was not like honest or straightforward, or giving the whole story or something like that. Just it keeps coming up over and over and over. And for me as an energy reader, like that's how you know. If you see it once and it's prominent, it's like, okay, that could be a thing. If you see it twice, it kind of piques my interest, catches my eye, and I'm like, okay, maybe that's something I should pay attention to. If I see it 3 times, I usually see it more than that, because I've noted, it seems like it's always like a pile on. Like when it's a real serious theme, like when it's something that like really is noteworthy and like I need to pay attention to it, it's like the same pattern over and over and over again, just like this energetic pile up of these same themes. Like no matter where you look, it just seems to be coming through. And that's kind of, what I'm getting with this particular energy about, like, I don't know, what's being uncovered, what's being discovered, mysteries being solved, things being figured out, things being like unearthed, the light of day shining where it doesn't usually. And there could, like, this Chiron vibe too. There could be an element of wounding. There could be an element of like pain or trauma or childhood wounding or victimization somehow being associated with whatever this is. It could also be financial, though. It could also be very financially oriented. That Sun-Pluto new moon opposition that we had going, exactly like literally the new moon in Leo this year, if you caught my new moon in Leo video, that took place exactly opposite Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. One thing I didn't mention in that video that's just like coming to my mind right now in the context of this Chiron situation as well, Pluto, the underworld, in more ancient astrology, Pluto, or Hades rather, was associated with like true wealth and like true value, because that's where underneath the earth, the realms of the underworld, that is where like the riches and the splendors and the precious metals and, you know, the gems and all of that come from. So they really exist in the realm of the underworld, which would be associated with this plutonic energy. There could be something about, and with the sun having been there for the new moon, and with the way that this Sun Mercury conjunction is coming together, and the Chiron influence as well, because Pluto can represent like true authentic wealth and value, but Chiron also does. Chiron, again, the Chiron point where Chiron was discovered, the Sabian symbol of 3 degrees, which becomes 4 degrees when we're reading the Sabian symbol placement, because when we're looking at symbolism associated with aspects, we round up, we read the incoming wave of energy, not the energy that is waning out and dissipating. So 3 degrees placement of the Chiron point is a Sabian symbol for Taurus, and that Sabian symbol is a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, which is so in alignment with the Chiron archetype, because Chiron is like the wounded healer, teacher, master archetype, and it really is where we gain essentially a lot of our most valuable experiences that translate into something priceless in terms of being able to release ourselves from these karmic loops associated with our lower nature and like early states of victimhood and being detached from the truth of our potential. But, you know, oftentimes after we do go through some type of hero's journey that can be associated with the Chiron influence, where we do learn to overcome our like lower instinctual ego-based nature, gain wisdom through experience, heal ourselves, and through that process step into a greater state of self-mastery, right? The wounded healer, teacher, master archetype, often it becomes one of the most valuable experiences of this life's lived journey. So there is a pricelessness, there is a like sense of, you know, value that is just like of true authentic like worth beyond, you know, a lot of other things. Like it's like true worth, true value again when we're talking about the Chiron energy. So we have a lunar cycle right now that is emphasizing perhaps hidden value, hidden worth, hidden wealth even, or something, or, you know, things to do with finances or value or money, like on that level, maybe like being exposed, the true value of something, being exposed, like the true potential of something coming to the forefront. I don't know, we could see this hitting on like a monetary financial base type of level as well. And then we've got this other strange dynamic going on this week, which is Venus, who also rules like money and finances and investments and commitments and partnerships and stuff like that. And Mercury is also like deals and negotiations and transactions and stuff. But we've got Venus leaving Gemini, entering the sign of Cancer. And we also have a Libra moon going on. We will talk about that as well, but she's coming into an immediate square with Saturn and Neptune in the sign of Aries. That's like a weird energy. And it's really, really distorting the traditional Venus and Cancer vibe. Now, we're still going to get Venus and Cancer, like all in the feels, like the soft, fuzzy, affectionate, very loving, compassionate, maternal, like nurturing feminine energy once we, I think, like get probably through the weekend and move into next week. But it is kind of a rocky start to this Venus entering the sign of Cancer, because that square to Saturn and simultaneous square to Neptune, which I will also say on Thursday, Neptune retrogrades back into exact alignment with Saturn in the sign of Aries. They have been separated by a 1 degree orb, but they're both retrograde right now, and Neptune rejoins Saturn at that 1st degree of Aries on Thursday. And I think it's Friday we're going to have the exact square take place between Venus at 1 degree of Cancer and Saturn and Neptune at 1 degree of Aries. So check back on Friday. I think that's probably going to be when that happens. We're going to be talking more about this energy. But this is like, you know, Venus is relationships. Venus is also finances. This is also like legal situations. This is like the peace and the balance of things. This is the image. This is the aesthetic. This is the connectivity. This is like our affection and like the desires is what we want, and our values as well. And I think that people with Saturn and Neptune both retrograde and Venus coming to the square, I think that a lot of people are probably going to be reevaluating things to do with relationships over this next couple of days. And I also think that this is indicating some breakdowns, some like endings, probably final endings in terms of relationships that just are not going to endure, like just can't stand to serve the test of time, or also have not been based on anything real. Like if they've been some type of fantasy or some type of an ideal or some type of an illusion, this is when that illusion is going to crumble. And I think we're going to discover that like it wasn't real, or there's nothing there, or there could be some real breakdowns along those lines. And a whole bunch of other stuff. We got a lot to get into our report for today, but I guess just prefacing this energy, there's a very strong Venus influence, very strong Chiron influence, very strong like mercurial situation going on as well. And it's probably like all tied together somehow, figuring things out maybe in a way that helps us move on from something, helps us let go of something, brings something maybe to the end in terms of maybe some past fantasy or ideal or illusion that we had just been holding on to, realizing that it's just never going to turn into something real at this point in time. And the past also, I don't know, like, again, like if we're gaining additional context or additional details or information about something that helps us to understand something better or gain a sense of clarity, or if we are finally gaining closure maybe like about something from the past somehow. But there does seem to be something here about like past situations either being relevant or gaining some type of extra or additional information that helps clear something up, or helps maybe us gain some type of an enlightenment somehow. So that is what I feel like is like the basic summary of how energy is playing out for us over this next couple of days. Let's talk more specifically about some of these aspects now. Now, as I said, Wednesday could be, I mean, both of these days, Wednesday and Thursday, are both strange. One reason that they're strange is because this Venus in Cancer square Neptune and Saturn and Aries to me is given a strange vibe. Like this is just things being a little off, and it's like people being a little off. Venus squaring Neptune, generally, like if it was Neptune in isolation, this would be like rose-colored glasses about stuff, like kind of like over idealizing things like this. They always say when Venus is in a harsh aspect to Neptune, square, opposition, even, you know, sometimes a conjunction, you don't want to get into a relationship, you don't want to make a commitment, you don't want to make an investment, because there's a greater than average likelihood that it's going to end in some type of disappointment, because oftentimes when we're dealing with Neptune, like things aren't all that real. Now, this is a creative energy. This does, you know, it can be an artistic energy. It can like stimulate our artistic creative talents and stuff like that. But aside from that, when we're dealing with the other more like tangible elements of the Venus energy, relationship dynamics, financial dynamics, things to do with like purchases and investments and material, whatever, it's like either whatever you buy and spend money on doesn't end up being what you want it to be or doing what you want it to do, or, you know, with Mercury retrograde, perhaps even like doesn't work or like breaks or something, or the relationship that begins just like doesn't pan out and turns out to be more of a fantasy or an illusion than something like real and practical and enduring. Like that's the type of thing that we're dealing with when we have a Venus-Neptune square happening. Now, when we add into it the Saturn situation, Venus square Saturn, this on its own makes us like relationally aloof. It's like even in the same room with somebody, you're still gonna feel alone. Like it makes it kind of difficult for us to connect, to feel like we're on the same page. Like giving and receiving love and affection can be a bit of a challenge. Like the ways that we, like this space between self and others can be like just more in focus for some reason. Feelings of loneliness, like nobody understands us, like unrelatability, that type of thing can be more prominent when we've got a Venus-Saturn square. And when we put both of those together, and the fact that they're retrograde, on one hand, again, playing into the like light into the shadows, figuring things out, clarity, enlightenment, illumination type of situation, this is going to like destroy the illusions or destroy the fantasies, or, you know, bust through the facade or disrupt or interrupt the ideal maybe that we've been holding about somebody. Like, this is true colors shining through. Like, this is the fracturing of, you know, that illusion or that ideal in the context of other people or relationships or financial situations. So there could be something here about seeing the truth about something, like the reality of the situation being very apparent, maybe in a way that is uncomfortable or we don't like, because we're talking about the square to Venus. Venus is what we like, Venus is what we love, Venus is what we desire. In the sign of Cancer, Venus likes and loves and desires to feel safe and secure and nurtured and cared for and comfortable, and likes to take care of others as well. But there's, you know, when we've got this square going on, it's like we can't get there for some reason, or something is challenging our ability to be in that comfortable, happy place, or to be able to give and receive that love and affection and comfort and care to the level, you know, that perhaps we would prefer when we've got that type of vibe going on. And it's like, what is it that's preventing that? Well, it's the Saturn-Neptune situation, like however that manifests. But it's like that dynamic together does represent like some type of breakdown, some type of loss of control, like people not following rules or something like that. And it also, though, it kind of can go both ways, because while on one hand, like, this is not supporting the maintenance of some type of an illusion and it is breaking things down, it's also not like there's no boundaries associated here. Like, with Saturn retrograde, Saturn is the limitation. Saturn is the form, the structure, the control. With Saturn conjunct Neptune, we're already not in control. Like, that is already, well, if it is not manifesting as this like extreme, you know, spiritual precision almost, like that's another way that this energy could be coming through right now. Like, a lot of people, or not a lot of people, but like on the higher octaves of this energy, it does give a spiritual refinement in terms of our ability to kind of merge the spiritual and the practical in some very unique and beneficial ways. Like, this can be a very powerful manifestation tool, but more likely it is going to like disable the ability for things to have strong boundaries or strong foundations. It's like, I always feel like it's like trying to build a structure at the foot of the ocean when the waves just keep coming in and like wearing out that land, you know, that diminishing whatever it is that you just built. Like, it's really hard for things to find their grounding when we've got a Saturn-Neptune conjunction going on. Especially, you know, when they're both retrograde again. That is definitely more about re-evaluating and like reconsidering like what our goals are, what our priorities are, how we're using our energy, how we're putting like two and two together, the ways that like we are disciplining and forming and controlling ourselves and our reality. It is also representing, of course, like this systemic breakdown and things traditionally associated with government control authority. And that's a whole, I don't mean to get into all that right now. Like, that's a whole nother story going on. But really why I'm bringing this up is in the context, of course, of this square to Venus that we have going on right now, and how I just feel like there could be, you know, either like a limitless flow of things associated with the Venus energy, like uncontrolled consumption, uncontrolled spending, maybe while Venus Saturn generally is a pretty like cold, aloof, like not warm and fuzzy energy, there could also on the other side of that be like a total lack of boundaries when it comes to the sentiments of things and the emotions associated with things and like the outpourings of things, love, affection, resources, compassion, like almost emotions. Like there could almost be like an endless amount of that stuff going on as well. So we may really see it two very distinct ways, either very dry or like very, very wet. Something along those lines in terms of the emotionality and the water energy. It's also funny that I'm saying that because that is also, I think, like this energy is either giving like very dry heat or like just total floods and stuff like that. Like there could be serious like issues going on with like heat and like an inability to get water to the problem, but also this like unrestrained flow of water that could be creating its own issues, because we have Saturn, which represents the boundaries and the limitations of things, in the sign of Aries, which is heat and fire. And Saturn also represents like the physical 3D world, like the physical like 3D tangible environment around us. Retrograde in the sign of Aries, and that can be just a very like hot, dry energy. When Neptune retrograde, like there's no water to add to the situation, but also Neptune, the Lord of the Sea, right? Poseidon, this is a huge water energy. With Saturn retrograde, like there's no walls, there's no boundaries, there's nothing to hold it back, just like floodwaters, you know, just total immersion. So we could see things go both ways. And then we're also talking about a Mercury central day when Mercury and the sun align in the sign of Leo. Again, there's that hot, dry energy, this sun, blazing heat energy. And Mercury has to do with like polarity and duality and oppositions and stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, we see kind of extremes going on, like extreme emotion or extreme detachment or extreme moisture and water or extreme like dryness and heat. So all of those things could definitely be like manifesting along oppositional octaves as we go through this energy. But breakdowns in control, breakdowns in like centralization and authority that may be also somehow disrupting comfort, financial security, or like the image or the reputation of something, or the peaceful balance of things generally. Also maybe plans, parties, celebrations, dates, social events, social occasions with both Venus and the sign of Leo, both having to do with like plans and parties and celebrations and stuff like that being activated this weekend. It seems like, I don't know, sudden closings to things maybe could be like disrupting plans, or things could suddenly be like falling through or not panning out, coming apart, things getting out of control also. Maybe in terms of social situations that creates like an uncomfortable or awkward social dynamic or situation. I wouldn't be surprised, because it's like Venus, right? And the sign of Cancer, this is wanting everything to be nice, wanting everything to be peaceful. It is like what is going on and what we're doing with other people. And then with the square coming through there, it could definitely be just like people not following the rules, or people getting out of control in a way that disturbs the peace, disturbs the balance, disturbs the harmony, or like people's ability to have a good time in social situations. So I don't know, you could see it manifesting along those lines as well. Any or all of that type of stuff could be a theme this weekend, or not this weekend, this week. But that's kind of essentially like what I'm thinking about the energy on Wednesday. Now, as I've said, we do have a Libra moon going on, which is ruled by Venus, which again indicates what's happening with Venus. The moon in Libra building into the opposition with Chiron on Wednesday, which actually comes exact on Thursday. So yeah, like there could be like social disruptions and stuff maybe that are causing, I don't know, like some type of traumatic situation or painful situation, or things just maybe not going in a way that like makes us feel great. Could be like pressing on some old wounds, like maybe triggering some traumas or something like that. Or I don't know, there just seems to be like something kind of like disturbing the peace, either as a result of like people not acting how they should, or because of some just like over the top, unlimited flow or expression or behavior or I don't know, desire or something like that that could somehow be coming through. But it's interesting to me that we like would have that Libra moon going on again, like ruled by Venus, while we're focused on Venus, who is coming into the square. And again, this is going to be like an energy for the rest of the week. So all week we've just got this like strange social thing going on. So if you find yourself just like feeling like you can't relate to anybody, or like nobody gets you, or like you just don't want to like hang out with your friends for some reason, or you just want to be like a little hermit crab and go into your shell over the next couple of days, that seems to be what this energy is indicating. And you know, maybe you need to kind of like cocoon up for some reason so that you can discover or figure something out or learn something that is going to, I don't know, be illuminating or enlightening or change something for you somehow. So that could be a vibe on Wednesday. People just like probably not going to be in the best mood, probably not going to be the most social, probably just not maybe going to be the most nice. And again, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't get like real involved with, you know, a financial situation or some type of commitment or, you know, some relationship dynamic. None of it's real, like literally none of it's real. And that's another thing, like the stress or the drama that could be coming from these relationships and situations right now, like, good God, 88% of it at least is probably not real in this energy. Like Saturn and Neptune both retrograde in an exact conjunction. Saturn is reality and Neptune is fantasy, like the opposite of that. So I wouldn't necessarily like take things too seriously in the context of maybe like relationship drama or other people. And again, like if people are just kind of like keeping their distance and not acting like they normally do, you're probably best to just give them some space and like maybe focus on your own personal healing process and know that things are going to come back together. Again, once we get through this week and this weekend, and Venus moves pretty much a degree a day. Like this is not a slow moving planet. So once she gets out of range of the square, which is going to happen quickly, again, by the time we get through the weekend, move into next week, this energy will have passed and we will be more solidly in that beautiful Venus and Cancer energy. And you know, the nurturing, loving, affectionate vibes associated with it will definitely be a bigger part of the story. So, you know, give people their distance if they need it this weekend. I wouldn't set your expectations real high for like social events and stuff to go, you know, totally swimmingly. Again, there could just be like a level of awkwardness or like discomfort that is somehow associated with the way that these financial situations and dynamics are playing out. So that's what I'm going to say for Wednesday, you guys. Now, moving into Thursday, this is the day where Mercury and the Sun align together at 9 degrees of the sign of Leo. It's probably going to be a busy week when we have a Mercury-Sun conjunction going on, or Mercury is just coming into a conjunction with the Sun. I tend to find that it just kind of like makes things a bit more hectic, a bit busier, like lots of places to go and things to do and people to see, lots of stuff on our to-do list. It does, of course, highlight this Mercury energy. And when the Sun and Mercury come to their exact alignment, this is said to be a period of time where we can gain a missing piece of information. Of course, it does super highlight the Mercury energy and what it represents. So, and the fact that Mercury is also retrograde now, this could also represent like delays and postponements and, you know, things not moving perhaps as quickly as they should in terms of the back and forth of things, but conversations, maybe hearing back from somebody, again, you know, maybe missing information from the past that comes up and that is relevant somehow, finding something out, receiving news, receiving words. Lots though, perhaps, like I think of like weird information or communications could be going on, maybe specifically pertaining to the past, but this like secrets revealed, shining light into the darkness component of things could be strangely relevant here again, not only because this is in the sign of Leo while we're moving through a Leo cycle that began in opposition to Pluto, but also because Uranus is currently at 0 degrees, a very powerful degree of the sign of Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury, while Mercury comes into the conjunction with the sun. So I feel like there may be something from the past that is being unearthed, again, that we are discovering, that we are finding out about. You may gain an enhanced level of awareness about something, and it could be kind of wild. That Uranian energy right there, like that's the shock factor associated with it. Like that is something that just like totally blows your mind or blows the lid off things, or like is like the alarm clock that comes through, like that really wakes you up to something somehow. So I think that there could be some type of spontaneous awakenings going on this week in terms of whatever information or whatever idea, or maybe it's even like an epiphany or like an instant download, flash of insight or something like that, that hits us like a lightning bolt out of nowhere, and we're just like seeing the light all of a sudden, and things are just falling into place and making perfect sense, and we're just like, oh my god, now I understand it all, now it all makes sense, now I can connect those dots. Also like solving mysteries and solving crimes and like cold cases and stuff like that, all that type of stuff could be relevant right now. And as I mentioned earlier, there could also be this weird emphasis on like the financial element of things, or what is the real worth, or what is the real value. Venus, Chiron, and a lunar cycle opposite Pluto. Money, assets, resources, value, material possessions. Chiron also very emphasized, right? On Thursday, as I said, the moon in Libra, ruled by Venus, who's in that square, you know, that could also represent like financial breakdowns with things, like with institutions, or like, this is the more like corporate, big business, big economy, big government, big finance. Even like Venus is like Taurus, like big agriculture, like food production. I don't know. There could be like something along those lines that is somehow experiencing some type of breakdown or some type of fragmentation or downsizing or something like that, in a way that has some type of financial impact that comes through somehow. But with the Chiron element, that is an indicator for pain, wounding, trauma, lessons, healing, wisdom, and again, like self-mastery, and ultimately this very, very priceless, valuable liberation from karmic cycles, which is where we ultimately arrive at the end of the hero's journey, which the Chiron archetype and element represents as well. So something like that could be woven into all of this, but maybe something financially restrictive could come from this, or it could also be like breakdowns, again, like in these systems or in these rules or in these deals or negotiations or partnerships that maybe do have some strange consequence or disrupt the comfort zone or the sense of security or the balance of things somehow, or just kind of like make people uncomfortable. It doesn't, again, like just seem to be the most balanced energy. Relationship pain, legal pain, financial pain, feeling the pain, feeling isolated, alone, cut off, excluded, cast out, or maybe unable to contain something in a way that makes things get out of control somehow. Unable to relate, unable to connect, misunderstood, misinterpreted. This could also be like our heart is broken, or maybe it's the sense of like emotional isolation, or like not being worthy ourselves, or like not being enough, like questioning our own worth, questioning our own value, maybe as a result of some type of an abandonment or betrayal. Abandonment and betrayal, you guys. Neptune, Saturn retrograding in a conjunction in the sign of Aries. Wouldn't be surprised, would not be surprised. Square Venus in Cancer. There could be, especially maybe in the context of the home or the family or the mother, things to do with the home and family. But I mean, Neptune, this is betrayal. This can be betrayal, retrograde. Saturn retrograde, this can be definitely like neglect and abandonment. When you put them both together, this is like a true fusion for that type of energy to be going on. And the CHIRON situation, the emotional wounding, that could come from that result. So I wouldn't be surprised if like that is a way that this is manifesting as well. Like maybe people were really struggling with like self-worth or self-love issues as a result of not being supported, not feeling like they have any help, like feeling abandoned or alone, because those themes do keep coming through, like this detachment, this like inability to connect, inability to relate, and like the wound, pain, emotional rawness and sensitivity situation that is going along with this. Like people may be struggling with feeling like they are just truly on their own, like it's like them against the world, and struggling with some type of wound in relation to the family, or in relation to the mother, or in relation to ways that they are feeling neglected or abandoned, or just like unsupported somehow. So I wouldn't be, real surprised if it came out or manifested that way for a lot of people. Like themes of conflict having to do with self and the expectation and what we feel we deserve, juxtaposed to the reality and like what's actually there for us and what's actually available for us and what's being provided in the context of others. Like this could be quite strong here. Not being able to receive, as I just said, the help or support that we feel that we need, or that we feel owed, or that we feel deserved for some reason. This could also manifest in terms of like literally, even if it's not a relationship or something like that, like workers not showing up. Like you got a house project going on and you hired people to come do a job and they just like don't show up for some reason, like not being able to get the help or support that you need, and that causing like a uncomfortable or like some weird financial situation. This could also be like people getting lost, people being confused, people not following through on things, not finishing the job, just kind of like leaving things undone. And this, again, it could be another week, like, following that thread where it's kind of just hard to get like a satisfactory result on things. Venus and Cancer squaring Neptune and Saturn and Aries. That is like, I can't get no satisfaction, like that is an inability to feel satisfied with pretty much anything generally, like the sense of kind of like internal discomfort as a result of like what's not done, what's not in control, like what's not accomplished. This is, I don't know, again, like this very disorienting energy that may have us questioning our self-worth. And if you find yourself in that place, you guys, this is a passing vibe. Do not attach to that state. That is not a reflection of who you are, of your capabilities, of your potential, of your, your worth and your value, and who or what is meant for you, or who or what you deserve. It is literally just this distortion in the emotional / feeling like frequency field right now that is causing us to perceive the things that would indicate our like lack of worth or lack of value or whatever in a way that is more prominent, or just like stands out more than, we would normally be aware of it or perceive it. So it is not who you are. It is not what you should attach to. It's literally just like this passing wave of energy that's coming through. And again, like things are going to change again along these lines as we get to the energy of next week. But it could be hard to, again, like achieve satisfying results, or also to receive like the help or the support or the instruction that you need, or that you feel like you deserve, in order to be comfortable, in order to get something done or accomplish something, or in order to just like feel like you are loved and worthy and valuable. So, could be a bit of an emotionally challenging week, although I don't think that it's going to be as like just generally difficult as what we have been moving through with that Mars South Node conjunction and Venus squaring the nodes and the Sun Pluto. Like we've been going through a very tricky energetic situation over this past couple weeks, and I don't think that this should be like so all-encompassingly debilitating as that was, but it definitely is pressing on, you know, these emotional issues, could be bringing up emotional challenges. As a result, you know, if we're kind of questioning our worth or our value, this could also have us questioning our relationships, and maybe it's our own values, maybe it's our own priorities, maybe it's not questioning like our own personal value, but questioning whether what we have aligned ourselves with or what we have been accepting is of the standard or of the value that we are willing to expect at this period of time. Maybe we have gained actually a greater recognition of our own personal value and have realized that we have been settling for less than what we actually deserve, and maybe that is what is causing the like lack of comfort and the inability, you know, for us to feel settled in these relationship and financial dynamics. So it could be something along those lines as well. Again, like the two sides of the coin, maybe, you know, feeling the lack of and therefore questioning, or maybe having recognized the truth of, remember I keep talking about like the true value, authentic value coming through and being indicated to maybe be something that is being illuminated for us this cycle here as well. So on that end of things, like that could also be it, and therefore questioning, the lack of making us question, and also the recognition of making us question. But it's like either way, regardless, we're in the same place of questioning and reevaluating the goals, the direction, the commitments, the investments, what it is that we want to build, what our ideals are, what our values are, what our preferences are, what our priorities are, like what and who we really desire, what and who we really want. All of these things could be coming up as this energy comes through this week. And then of course, you know, the messages, the conversations, the information, the interactions coming through with the Sun Mercury alignment in the sign of Leo. Leo does have to do with the heart. Leo also has to do with romantic relationships. So it could be romantic relationships that are playing quite a central theme in all of this here. You know what? It could also relate to like sports and games. And of course, these events and occasions, these parties and celebrations, both Leo and Venus are oriented along those lines, and the unusual or the unexpected things coming out of people's mouths or happening as a result maybe of things getting a bit out of control that surprise us or that are very revealing for some reason. Who knows, in some capacity, but you may get some answers to something this week heading into the weekend, something that you didn't know, maybe something that you didn't know, but now you do know, and because you do know, that really maybe is what is altering the way that you feel about things and what you want. Again, it could just all be connected. So at the time, one last thing that I want to talk about and it's funny, like all of this that I've talked about, the symbolism associated actually with the placement of the black moon right now at 14 degrees of Scorpio becomes even more relevant when we talk about the Mercury CAZIMI, because as I mentioned earlier, Mercury and the Sun align when they align exactly, which happens at 7:41 p.m. Eastern time at exactly 9 degrees of the sign of Leo, which that Sabian symbol is glass blowers shape beautiful forms with their controlled breathing. To me, that's like something that we are creating very, very carefully, and again, like in a controlled, specific manner. So there could, that's where the Mercury and the Sun are coming to the alignment. So that could be somehow a part of whatever it is that is being revealed to us is, you know, manifesting itself in terms of helping us to kind of reorient along a new vision of what we want to create, maybe more meticulously and carefully than the things that we've created in the past. Like there could be an element of control that we know is necessary now and moving forward in order to get to where we want to get to for some reason. But 7:41 p.m. that's the time that is happening, and at that actually moment when that conjunction hits exactly, as I told you guys earlier, the moon is going to be at 3 degrees of the sign of Scorpio, which is exactly opposite the CHIRON point. again, emphasizing that Chiron energy that we have so present this weekend, but also activating the black moon. We're going to be in black moon energy this upcoming weekend. I'll talk about it in my next video. But the black moon right now is at 14 degrees of Scorpio. That Sabian symbol is telephone lineman at work installing new connections. And I just feel like that is real relevant considering we're talking about a Mercury Sun conjunction, which is all about the signal getting through. Maybe that is normally in most cases blocked or fuzzy, or, you know, we struggle to see or to hear or interpret, but for some reason in this energy, like, we are getting the signal. And then, like, that's the degree of the black moon that is being activated by the moon at the moment of that alignment. The telephone linesman installing new connections. So I think that we are going to start thinking about things differently for some reason, probably based on whatever it is that we're realizing or figuring out here, or maybe, you know, how that is impacting what it is that we want, what it is that we desire. But making connections, you guys, relaying messages. Also the glass bottom boat degree, Uranus, as I said, 0 degrees of Gemini. Glass bottom boat reveals undersea wonders, revelations, insight, clarity. So weird energy, you guys, this week as we head towards the weekend, but we'll see how it goes. Let me know if you have some interesting experiences going on out there. Again, things could just not feel all that balanced, all that peaceful, all that normal. And there could be like a weird informational component to it somehow for some reason. So that's my story, you guys. Sticking to it. The tarot reading for today seems to be validating that, I will say. We got several cards coming out in our reading for today, but they all kind of, you know, I mean, let's just take a look. All right. The first card that we had coming out was the 6 of Swords. So this means moving away from something, right? Like, we're going in a new direction. Like, wherever we were wasn't doing it for us for some reason. So, you know, on to calmer waters. We are heading out, heading in a new direction. Now, we had a couple other sequences of cards come out. First of all, Page of Swords in reverse, Queen of Wands, and the Sun. To me, like, this is a sure combination for gaining a sense of self-empowerment through what it is that we're figuring out and where we are realizing perhaps we had been deceived, been misunderstanding something, not been seeing something clearly, being under a false impression or a false interpretation, like just didn't have the story straight. And now we do, because the light of day shone on it somehow. We gained some type of an enlightenment, some type of an illumination, and now we are standing in a place of power as a result of whatever it is that we discovered, figured out, or learned of that may have not been all that honest, all that straightforward, all that clear, I don't know, for some reason. And with the 6 of Swords, I mean, maybe that sense of, I don't know, self-empowerment or whatever, you know, elevated position that puts us in is like facilitating our ability to move on from something, to move away from something. It's like whatever we're finding out, like now we have the power and it's enabling us to move away. Now, this is also the Page of Swords in reverse and the 6 of Swords. So it's like the informational component of things is what is leading to our ability to be distanced from the situation. And then also we have the Ace of Wands and the 7 of Cups. So this is like inspired to me in this particular situation. I feel like it's talking about, and also now being inspired by like more options, more choices. Like maybe we don't know exactly where we're going, or maybe we don't know exactly what we're going to do next, but we have a heck of a lot more options and opportunities and potential than we did otherwise. It's like, you know, maybe not every single one of those options is going to be the best option, but now at least I have a choice. I'm feeling inspired and empowered to make it. Again, we've got the Wands energy coming through here, and we had the Queen of Wands. So there's a motivation or an enthusiasm or an inspiration to choose something different. Again, like maybe it's not all that clear right now, but it is giving us at least more choices that we are motivated to make. And again, like distancing or detaching ourselves from whatever story we've been telling ourselves in the past. And then it's also interesting because we have the Six of Cups on the back of the deck, which could be like something from the past, someone from the past, some old vision, nostalgia, like previous connection, like something from childhood. I don't know. So to me, you guys, that's how the tarot is coming through. It looks like either something from the past being cleared up somehow in a way that releases us and empowers us to move forward and to like choose something different, go in a new direction, pick a different option, or maybe, I don't know, like things, again, like the past being rectified somehow, maybe closure coming through here. Maybe an ability to finally move on from something, or just gaining clarity on a situation that maybe had been keeping us stuck. But now that we get the answer, or now that we know, or now that, you know, whatever it is, we can, or we feel like we can move on. So that is how I am reading. Oh, I put my cards in the wrong drawer. That's how I'm reading our tarot for today. Now we're gonna get a synchronicity card, you guys. I'm asking God, Spirit, Universe to give us one final piece of information, guidance. We already got the card. And wouldn't you know, you guys, our synchronicity card says turn off the world. So that is, I feel like, kind of in alignment with what all of this has been suggesting today in terms of the way astrology is coming through. Let's read the card. Folly is joy to him, destitute of wisdom. Proverbs 15:21. Looking for love in all the wrong places. Looking for joy in externals, finding joy in lurid drama, hate-filled music, and other synthetic entertainment. You will find joy within yourself. Turn off the noise and listen to the voice within. Search for wisdom within. Be happy with yourself inside and you will find joy. Honestly, I don't have much to say about this. This is, to me, out of all the cards in this entire deck, like, I'm kind of astounded that this is the one that came out, because this truly, I think, is the most perfect card for this energy. Like, we're talking about Venus in Cancer squaring Saturn and Neptune in the sign of Aries with all this Chiron influence going on. Turn off the, and Mercury and the Sun retrograde conjunction. Turn off the noise and listen to the voice within. Search for your wisdom within. Be happy with yourself inside. Getting in the shell a little bit. Everything that I was saying earlier, so I'm not going to elaborate on this. It speaks for itself. It stands. That's what I have to say today, you guys. Message from the stars, message from the cards. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, you guys. Share it with your friends if you think that they would also enjoy this type of astrology content. Leave me comments. So grateful for your presence on my channel, you guys. If you are having experiences that line up with or reflect what I'm talking about in these videos, drop me a comment. Please let me know in my comment section below. That's very valuable information to me, and I really appreciate it. I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you want to know what's on this whiteboard, I have a Facebook group where I post images of those boards. If you want to see the boards, the whole thing, that's where you can find those. Look in my description box below, find the link. That's where that is. Come back with me on Friday. We do, of course, have more of this Venus square energy to get into. That is coming exact. We've got a Black Moon weekend coming up. I will be back to talk all about it. You don't want to miss it. I will see you then, everybody. Have a beautiful midpoint of your week. And until next time, bye, guys.